Good Tuesday morning, Mount Olive Church family and friends. Everybody joining us online. Another week of devotions. Get everything situated and get my screen pulled up here. Hope everybody's having a great start to the week. And man, another wonderful sermon from the Road to Resurrection series that the pastor brought to us again this Sunday. And this one being called Restored or Restoration, I guess is the title of it. And I hope you got to watch or be there and or listen one way or another. And hope you got to watch Monday's devotion. If not, go back and check it out. Brother Josh Spurlock done a wonderful job with that. We appreciate him. He's helping do so much right now and really diving into our young people, our high school kids and college age kids. We appreciate him and Kara a lot for what they're doing. He done a great job on his devotion. So one part I want to talk about on the restoration was the meeting. The pastor went through the mistakes as kind of the first point, and he talked about all those mistakes. And then he got to talking about the meeting. And, part of those mistakes led to Peter going back and going fishing. And, he picked his nets back up and he went back and he went fishing. But then, the Lord shows up and he says, you catch anything? Nope. Well, cast on the other side. And they realize it's him and they come to the shore and we know that they eat. And then they have this conversation. This is what I want to talk about, this restoration part here. They had this conversation and Peter had just denied Christ, just briefly before this. And so it's time to have this personal meeting. It's Jesus does that, right? When we let him down sometimes, when we have our faults and failures that we all have, Jody included, he meets us personally and he wants to have a conversation about it. He wants to address the issue. So we know that in John chapter 21, he asked him a couple times. Then he gets here this is the third time, because Peter denied him 3 times. So it gets to John 21:17. It says this, and it says, he saith unto him a third time, Simon, son of Jonas, lovest thou me? And Peter was grieved. He was brokenhearted. It pierced him at this time. It was at that moment he said, wow, he told me 3 times. I denied him 3 times. And now he's asked me this 3 times. He's proven a point to me. But he was heartbroken. It vexed his soul here about what was going on in his life and where he was at. So Peter was grieved. He was hurt and he wept because he had said unto him the third time, lovest thou me? And he said unto him, Peter answered to the Lord, and he says, Lord, thou knowest all things. Thou knowest that I love thee. And Jesus said unto him, feed my sheep. And we know that, Peter goes on and, he preaches Jesus. He gives up the fishing career and he goes into the ministry work. And we see what that does and how many souls were saved. And, I wrote this down Sunday and when Pastor was talking about that, and he brought this out, and, follow me, serve me, feed my sheep. And, we've all had parts in our life where we pick those nets back up and we have to have that meeting. We have that one-on-one meeting with Jesus, right? And one of my favorite stories of restoration in the Bible to me was a lot of times we've had those failures, and we've all had those times where we dig in and then we back up. We dig in, we want, Lord, I'll do this for you. And then sometimes you look up and people are gone. But in Acts chapter 15, and it's a familiar story for a lot of people. That's one of my favorite scriptures. Acts chapter 15, Paul and Barnabas, they're getting ready to go back, and they're going to go back to the missionary field. And it says, and Barnabas determined to take with him John, whose surname was Mark, John Mark. Okay. It says, but Paul, he thought it not good to take him with him, because John Mark had departed from them from Pamphylia and went not with them to the work. So there was a time that they were out before, and Paul and Barnabas are working, and John Mark's there, and he bails out and he goes home. They look up one day and it got a little bit too tough for John Mark. And so he panicked. He left them. He left them holding the bag. He left them there to work alone. They were dependent on him. Paul was dependent on him. He counted on John Mark. But they went on and they done their work. So later on when they go back, Barnabas says, I think we need to take John Mark. And Paul says, well, no, buddy, he's not going. He's not going. And it says the contention was so sharp between them that they departed asunder one from the other. So Barnabas, he took Mark and he sailed to Cyprus, and Paul chose Silas. So they about came to blows. They had a big contention here. But you know what? And we read this book several years ago and talking about Paul. And everybody needs a Paul and everybody needs a Barnabas. We need Pauls in this world in our walk that are going to hold us to the line and say, we need to do this. Hey, maybe you're not ready for this or whatever that may be, but we need those Barnabas too. It says, you know what? Paul, he messed up. He made a mistake, but he's still got to work. He's still got to work in him, and we need to bring him along. And that's exactly what they done. But look at the restoration part. Without Barnabas, I don't know that Mark would have been where he was at here at the end. Without Paul, I don't know if Mark would have realized, man, I let the Lord down. I let Paul and Barnabas down. But look here, when you get over to 2 Timothy and you're at the end of you're nearing the end of Paul's life here, and he's writing his letter and he says, I need this and I need that. But he gets to 2 Timothy 4:11. He says this, only Luke is with me. And so he says, take Mark, or bring Mark. Bring Mark with thee, for he is profitable, he's valuable, he's useful to me for the ministry. Okay, listen, somebody today, you've been in the position of John Mark, and you may have let down. There's restoration. There is still restoration. You are still profitable for the ministry. You're still profitable to do something. There's some of you watching today, you need to be a Barnabas. You need to find that one that needs you to say, hey, you know what? I'm sure Barnabas has had some restoration somewhere in his life, just like the rest of us. And we need to find that one and say, okay, listen, we're going to slowly work back into this. You need to start following me, serving me, and feeding the sheep, the same as Peter did. Okay? I hope that got a little nugget for you today, a little thought for you to think on. Love all you guys. Hope you have a great week. Remember, pray for me. As always, I'm praying for you. God bless.